Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to CurtainJerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel and the Dragon Suplex Podcasting Network. It's been a huge weekend for pro wrestling. We're going to talk about it all. I haven't talked to you guys in a whole week. It has been another crazy week at work, so I was unable to do my AEW show on the weekend, so we're going to lump it all together. Right now, I'm going to be talking about AAA. I'm going to be talking about Noah. I'm going to be talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm going to be talking about AEW, just like I previously mentioned, and I'm going to be talking about WWE. I was supposed to go to Raw. I ended up not going to Raw. A few of my friends bailed out, and I didn't want to go. I haven't seen Raw even on the TV for weeks, and I just went to Raw in November, so I might have to wait another few months before I get the itch to go again. Sadly enough, that wasn't the only bad news involving WWE this week. There's more releases, including Dexter Loomis. I was surprised by this one. I thought that this guy was kind of the total package here. A victim of the youth movement. I think he had a good look, a good character, but he was 38 years old. So what are you going to do there? Another, guy I was kind of surprised about was Malcolm Bivens. They brought the Creed brothers up, I think, to SmackDown. But, I thought him and the Creed brothers were kind of like the total package together. They were very much like a Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman for the tag team division. But he's gone. I enjoyed his work in the Indies a few years ago before he signed to the WWE, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy his work in the Indies when he comes back after 30 days or 90 days or whatever he's signed to. Another one I was surprised about was Harold Parker Burdeaux. I remember when they brought him in, people were saying, here's the next Brock Lesnar. His look and everything, he was tatted up, he was young, he was yoked. But I guess that he's, not really picking up on the wrestling thing. That's the only reason I can figure him getting released. He's young, he hadn't been signed for too long. He's big. So, I think that just means he's not picking up on what he's supposed to do in the ring, which is a shame because he had everything going for him. He still might, I don't know, but that's just where my mind goes. Another one I was surprised about, Dakota Kai. You could see it coming, I guess. Maybe I'm not surprised, but she was black and gold staple, not really used. I don't know why they didn't just bring her up to SmackDown, kind of like they did a few of the other black and gold staples from NXT, and kind of just have on the roster a little bit, but they didn't, and I guess she's gone. I don't know what's next for her. AEW's filled up, I think, and maybe going back to Stardom or going to Stardom might be in the works for her. I don't know. I do know that it's not happened yet, but Roderick Strong has asked for his release recently as well. They're not really using him. He's making six figures. If I were him, I would try to get a coaching role and be a WWE lifer. But, he wants his release. I can understand that. He was being pushed to the moon a few years ago with the Undisputed Era. And now the Undisputed Era are on AEW, killing it, on TBS, killing it. And he's not even on USA or even Level Up, I think, at this point. I think last time I remember him doing anything, he was over on NXT UK, which is just on Peacock. But that's all the WWE news I have right now. I don't know what's going on, really. I haven't watched since the Raw after WrestleMania. I'm going to watch Backlash, WWE WrestleMania Backlash. I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions on that coming up later this week, but right now we're going to be talking about AEW. Went back to 5 matches instead of 7 matches on Dynamite, which I thought made for a better show. I thought this was less rushed of a show than it was last week or 2 weeks ago when Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky had to run through what they were saying, even barely even getting out the words ladder match to hype up their ladder match. So moving it to 5 matches was a good call because we got a lot of good talking segments here. We got a really good segment with Jericho and Kingston that I thought was perfect. And some solid matches. CM Punk calling the FTR match. He even said these guys are our tag team champions. So even Punk is looking past, Jurassic Express and just thinking of FTR as the champions, which is a problem you're going to have when you have multiple belts across one big company bringing in all those Ring of Honor belts. I did a poll on Twitter, asked who do you think the tag team champions are, FTR or Jurassic Express, and FTR won by a long shot. I think that Jurassic Express and, to an extent, Hangman Page have kind of been a little bit afterthoughts with all these new titles and all these new guys coming in the past few weeks. It doesn't help that Hangman Page has COVID right now, so he's obviously out. But it couldn't come at a worse time because he's about to get his big push with a CM Punk match, which I think in some ways is bigger than the title, in some ways is bigger than that match with Kenny Omega. That led to them just revealing the graphic randomly after the FTR match, and CM Punk versus Hangman Page is going to be a big match here. I think that they might put the title on Punk here, but I hope not. That would be a shame because this is the biggest title reign in AEW history for the prestige of that title. You need to put that title on somebody who isn't a WWE guy, and Hangman Page is the first non-WWE guy with that title. Like I said before, he beat Omega, he beat Danielson. That was going well, but then he started, the Archer match and the Adam Cole feud really wasn't, I don't think, what people were wanting. So this CM Punk feud, this CM Punk promo battle, this CM Punk match is going to be huge for Hangman. And I can see them getting cold feet with this whole title run and just putting it on Punk. But Punk has kind of not been as good in the ring as I think Hangman Page has been since Punk has come into AEW. There's always a little bit of a flub, a little bit of a botch here and there, where Hangman's matches are kind of, spot on perfect if the crowd is behind it. MJF with the line of the night here, what do girls from Philadelphia use as birth control? Their personalities. Thought that was hilarious. I think that if Hangman can survive this Punk feud, MJF would be a perfect guy to take the title from Hangman Page. I was talking to a buddy of mine, John Hitchcock. He thinks that MJF is not ready for it, but he's the only guy I've talked to that thinks that. I think, the most over heel in all of wrestling today, much less AEW, is MJF. If you get the title on a heel, he can talk people into the building. People are going to want to show up to see who's going to take it from him. And I think, maybe Warlow, if you can hype him up. He seems to be going on a pretty good upward trajectory here. Jericho Appreciation Society coming out looking like a boy band, then getting punked by Kingston. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I thought this was just a super good segment. They were just so arrogant and cocky, knowing that they couldn't get touched, but then just with the words that Kingston was saying and how he was getting so close to Jericho's face, completely punked out the heels here, and I thought that was great. And then, of course, they were embarrassed, so they cut to the back and they, put a fireball in Kingston's face, just like the Sheik, just like, I think, didn't Kaufman do that to Jerry Lawler or something like that? The Kaufman and Lawler feud. Old school wrestling tactic here by the old school veteran Chris Jericho. Going on to AEW Rampage, Sammy Guevara jumping off the ladder on the Scorpio Sky Sammy Guevara match is already on the start of Rampage. So it only took a few days to get that highlight going on the highlight reel. I thought that was kind of cool. Sean Spears cutting a good promo. Danhausen and Hook heating up. They go to the ring, but they get attacked by Tony Nese. So the Philly crowd chants Hookhausen. I don't know. I might be too old for this, but it didn't look like they were doing much with Hook, and it didn't look like they were doing much with Danhausen, so make him a tag team. That seems to be the way it works in wrestling. But let's rank every single match from AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage from worst to first. All 11 matches. Number 11 is the Baddies versus the indie talent here. I like the idea of Jade getting her own faction. She was wrestling a lot of green talent anyway, so if you can get these ladies in some trios matches or tag matches, you can kind of do a good job of highlighting what they do well and then tagging out, and then you don't have to have them doing a full match showcasing maybe what they don't do so well. Jaded 1, 2, 3, the Baddies get the victory. The 10-man tag match, Lee Johnson, Varsity Blondes, Brock Anderson, and Dante Martin versus the Undisputed Super Elite Club, showcasing that it is their era. Boom Knee 1, 2, 3. Number 9 out of 11, Warlow versus Archer. I thought this was a bit better than the Butcher match. Archer diving, Wardlow going for a Swanton Bomb. Powerbomb Symphony 1, 2, 3. Number 8 out of 11, Blackpool Combat Club versus The Factory. Wheeler's hometown. As Danielson was going in between the chops and the kicks, the crowd was wooing with the chops, and they were doing the yes chant with the kicks. That was a really cool point in the match. Philadelphia crowd never disappoints. And, a little Ric Flair here, a little Danielson here, all involved in the match. I love that participation right there. We knew what was going to happen before the match even began. Blackpool Combat Club whooped their ass and got the victory here. Yuta, big news for Yuta coming up later on the show for New Japan, believe it or not. And then number 7, Colton Gunn versus Keith Lee. I thought this match was way better when the bell rang than it was on paper here. The Gunn Club, good, especially considering how green they are. Crowd behind Lee, of course, but Austin gets involved. Colton lands a beautiful dropkick, but Lee does get the victory. 1, 2, 3. Number 6 out of 11, Darby Allin versus Swerve Scott. If you can only watch one match every week on AEW television, watch the first match of Rampage, because it's consistently one of the better matches and really good just in-ring matches. But if you were me, you'd watch the whole show. Why not? Or just, fast forward to the good stuff. This match did suffer a little bit with the crowd chanting for Sting. Sting, of course, on the outside here. Stark shows up. Sting holds him back, but still distracts Darby enough for, or still distracts Scott for Darby to get the victory. It was what it was. I think this, was just kind of a nothing match to kind of continue the Starks-Scott feud. Joe versus Trent. Trent, the MVP of Rampage 2022 so far. Ian Riccaboni out there on commentary because this was the Ring of Honor TV title match. Trent slips out of a muscle buster, but Joe still gets the victory. The real highlight was when Lethal, Sanjay, and Singh came out at the end there, and Orange Cassidy stared down Singh, the big tall guy with Lethal and Sanjay, because Cassidy's a smaller guy. So it did show a bit of courage and a bit of just balls from Orange Cassidy, but it also showcased how tall this Singh guy is, having him stand up right next to another superstar like that. So I thought that was pretty good. The crowd really wasn't into it, though. They saw it, and then they just kind of left. You could see them leaving the arena as Lethal and Joe were brawling to end the show. I'm into this feud, but it doesn't look like it's getting a lot of traction on social media. And then, judging by this Philly crowd leaving, going up the stairs as they're brawling to end the show, that doesn't look too good either. Number 4 out of 11, Deeb versus Hikaru Shida. Deeb with a swollen eye after this blood feud wrapped up. This was a good match. I feel like this feud was kept alive because the two women in the match believed in the feud. This was all just on Rampage and Dynamite. They had one match that was on the buy-in of one of their bigger shows, but that's it. So what made this feud good was definitely not maybe the storytelling, but the bell-to-bell storytelling between Deeb and Sheeta here. Number 3, FTR versus FTR. Dax versus Dash. Things get chippy between the two teammates here. Dax goes for a slingshot powerbomb, but Dash counters into a Hurricane Rana. At one point, I thought that was pretty good, showing that the teammates kind of know each other pretty well. Dax does get the victory though, 1, 2, 3. They paid homage to Brett versus Owen in the Owen Hart tournament match. Very classy stuff here. A lot of people would have that at number 1, but I had it at number, I guess I'm doing my math wrong. There's only 10 matches. So that was my number 2 match of the week. And number 1 was the ladder match with Sammy Guevara doing the twisting 450 off the ladder where he fell on his back. Definitely a moment, that was for the highlight reel, and we already saw it on the beginning of Rampage. Barbed wire ladder was brought out at one point. Never seen that before. But the big takeaway was that Philly crowd getting behind Scorpio Sky as he climbs the ladder and gets the title. Second time now that he has the TNT Championship. Paige Van Zant taking down Ty Conti. Dan Lambert getting kicked in the balls. Perfect match. Perfect spectacle of a main event for AEW Dynamite this week. There was no AEW pay-per-view. There was no WWE pay-per-view. But around the world, it was a huge, huge weekend in pro wrestling. We had New Japan Dantaku, we had 2 Noah shows, and we had Triple Mania Monterey. We're going to dive into all those shows, and I'm going to give you all my thoughts right now. New Japan Pro Wrestling Dantaku, it was a dome show, but outside of the Tokyo Dome for New Japan. I thought this was really cool. It felt like Wrestle Kingdom light most of the time, and I would hold up this card up to maybe night 1 or night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom this year, and I think this card holds up. The first match, Taka Michinoku, Zack Sabre Jr., and Tai Chi versus Shingo, Bushi, and Shiro Koshinaka. A guy who had his first match in 1979 in All Japan, and he was the first ever IWGP Junior Champion. He goes up to the top with a smile on his face and hitting his patented hip attack. It was just super cool to see this old timer in the ring. Of course, he was filling in for his buddy, I assume his buddy, and fellow old timer who had COVID-19. And his team loses, though, but not his fault. Shingo actually gets rolled up 1, 2, 3, and Tai Chi kind of holds him down, making sure the ref can count 6. I think Tai Chi wants another shot at that King of Pro Wrestling Championship. They had a very unique match where they just you had to pin the guy, and the first guy to get up to 30 won the match. So yeah, you had to pin the guy the equivalent of 10 times, 10 3 counts. But at certain points, they would hit their big moves and pin, the other guy for like the count of 7 or something like that. And I think that's what Tai Chi wants. He wants another rematch in that style matchup here. Hiromu versus Yo. The whole point of this match was for Hiromu calling out Yo for his lack of fighting spirit the last few months. But Yo did show it here. To an extent, Hiromu did get the victory here and show him how it was done. Time Bomb 2, 1, 2, 3. Yujiro and Tanga Loa here. This was a pretty good match. Loa looking like a goddamn superhero, as he says, coming down the ramp. Ref bump. Ishimori comes in the ring, hits a German. Sho tries to use a wrench, but gets caught with a lariat by Jado and a power bomb by Tanga Loa for his troubles. Yujiro does hit the pimp juice off of this distraction. 1, 2, no. Samoan drop. 1, 2, 3. Tanga Loa gets the victory. Tanga Loa, he was in the G1, and ever since then, I think he's been stepping up, including he had the full look. Said he looked like a goddamn superhero. Definitely had the total package today. And I mean, come on, if you're not beating Yujiro in New Japan, who are you beating? Dookie versus Kamaru, or Dookie and Kamaru versus Taguchi and Master Watu. Forgettable match, except for the part where Taguchi had his ass hanging out and rolled up Kamaru, having Kamaru's face right up into Taguchi's bare ass. 1, 2, 3. Taguchi gets the victory. Chase Owens and Bad Luck Fale versus Goto and Yoshihashi versus the champions Cobb and Okan. This was a good match. This was where you can kind of tell the card was definitely building well here. I like the spot where Goto and Yoshihashi leg sweep Fale to fall on to Chase Owens and then jump on Fale trying to get the pin on Chase Owens. A frustrated Fale just kind of gets up and shakes them off. Cobb staring down Fale at one point. I want to see him pick up Fale. It might have happened before, but I forgot about it. I want to see it again. Pick that big guy up, Jeff Cobb. Goes for a tour of the islands. Not able to hit it at first, but eventually lands it. 1-2 kick out. Owens goes up top and lands a huge elbow. Shades of Bobby Eden, as Kevin Kelly says. 1, 2, 3. That's right. 1, 2, 3. Chase Owens gets the victory. This is his first ever title in New Japan. He's been there 9 years. This is his first title. I mean, he gets a lot of shit. He is kind of just a guy at most of the time, but he's put in the work, and after 9 years, he gets a title. I know it was Bullet Club, and now it's kind of heels, but this got a face pop. For me, that was kind of cool to see him get a title after so long. He stayed in Japan during the pandemic. He didn't go home. He was able to beat Tanahashi in the G1. He won the King of Pro Wrestling Championship trophy, and now here he is with Tag Gold in 2022. What a renaissance this man's had. The past 2 years, the world has been suffering, but Chase Owens has just, been doing better and better because he stuck with it and worked really hard. It's really cool to see. They announced the blocks for the Best of the Super Juniors 29. A block, Hiromu, Taguchi, Yo, Clark Connors of New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong fame, Kinemaru, Ace Austin, and Alex Zane. I thought that was pretty cool to see them in there. Pretty excited to see those guys tear it up. Francesco Akira, the guy from Italy who joined the United Empire. I bet he's going to kill it. Ishimori and Sho. So Sho and Yo in the same block this year. I think that's pretty interesting. But B block, Master Wato for the sleeper matches. Robbie Eagles, Titan, Bushi, El Desperado, Dookie, Lieneman, Wheeler Yuta. I thought that was pretty interesting. Wheeler Yuta of AEW. So we're seeing an AEW guy go over in the Best of the Super Juniors here. Are we going to see AEW guys in the G1? Is this a sign of things to come? I hope so. TJP and LP wrap up the Best of the Super Juniors. This is a pretty good field here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch any of these matches. I'm definitely going to watch the finals as they come up, but these series of guys is pretty intriguing. It's good to see the foreigners come back over after so long. But moving on, Otanga versus Evil. I can't stand Evil matches, but this one was okay. Scorpion Deathlock by Tonga at one point. Then Dick Togo rings the bell, the Timeskeeper bell, making Tama think that he's won. Then eventually he hits the gun stun. 1, 2, 3. Tonga with his first singles title in New Japan, winning the Never Openweight Championship. But then there was this audible gasp in the crowd. Usually in New Japan, you just hear the clapping nowadays. But the Good Brothers showed up, attacked Tonga, and said they didn't give a fuck. They're not even signed to New Japan. Literally said they didn't give a fuck. And I thought this was good because during the whole match, he's hitting the gun stun. He's hitting the magic. They're doing the Magic Killer and explaining that God got the Magic Killer from Gallows and Anderson. Of course, now they've left Bullet Club, and Gallows and Anderson, Bullet Club for life. They're coming over again after 7-year absence from New Japan proper and attacking Tonga. This was a big fucking night for Bullet Club. I mean, we just said, we're going to get into it more and more, but as we're seeing, Chase Owens and Fale win the tag title, and then the Good Brothers show back up, and then we're going to go into Ishimori versus El Desperado. I was kind of just watching this match while looking at my phone because I thought El Desperado, there's no way he was going to lose this title. Desperado going after the knee. So when Ishimori uses his knee for an offensive maneuver, he kind of injures himself more so than Desperado. Trying to lock in the numero dos is Desperado, but Ishimori at one point slips out, up and over in sort of like a Cobra twist. I thought that was kind of cool. Pinche Loco landed, goes up again, but Ishimori counters into a crossface, and then Ishimori taps out the champion and wins the title. So Bullet Club looking incredibly strong here. Going into the two main events, Ishii versus Tanahashi. This match was great. Best match on the show. This match made up for the bad Ishii match at Wrestle Kingdom. Forearm battle, both men going after each other's leg. Tanahashi lands a series of bitch slaps to Ishii. German, that kind of wakes up Ishii. Ishii powers out, superplex, sliding lariat, 1, 2, no. High fly flow, goes up again, high fly flow, no one home. Brainbuster by Ishii, 1, 2. Tanahashi kicks out, headbutt battle. Tanahashi slips out of the second brainbuster, aces high, high fly flow, 1, 2, 3. That little review doesn't do this match justice. There were so many intricate things. You never thought you would see Ishii do a dragon screw leg whip. You never thought you would see Ishii do a sling blade, but he was doing all that stuff in this match. This was great. This should have been the main event here. This was for the vacant IWGP US Championship. So now Tanahashi has the IWGP US Championship. And then Chase Owens comes out. Chase Owens, with his championship gold, beat Tanahashi in the G1, like I said earlier. So everyone's thinking it's going that direction. But then a masked man wearing a Bullet Club vest shows up, hits Juice Robinson's finisher, the version of the Unprettier. I'm not sure what they call it. I'm not sure what he calls it. It's slipping my mind. But then it reveals that it is Juice Robinson. A lot of people thought he wasn't going to re-sign with New Japan. Apparently he has re-signed with New Japan, and he is now in Bullet Club. Wants his IWGP US Championship back, and in fact he just took it. He put it over his shoulder and just walked out with it. It's supposed to belong to Tanahashi, but Juice Robinson has it in his possession. Going into Okada versus Naito. Didn't know Okada was trained by Ultimo Dragon. Found this out. Solid match. Started picking up at the 20-minute mark, much like a lot of Okada matches. Okada counters a Hurricane Rana attempt into a sit-down powerbomb off the top rope. That was really cool. Naito lands an Esperanzo and a Destino. 1, 2. Okada kicks out. Goes for another Destino, but Okada counters that into a Tombstone. Destino again. 1, 2. Okada kicks out. Slow elbow battle. This was really, really cool. Really cool moment here. Every elbow landed. The crowd is just clapping. And it's pretty slow, so you know they're not just clapping just to clap. They're hooked in, reeled in. This stadium crowd, this dome crowd is reeled into every move that these two guys are doing. And then it turns into a bitch slap exchange. Okada gets brought to his knees with the thunderous bitch slap from Naito. But Naito can't hit the Destino. Okada hits the Rainmaker. 1, 2, 3. Okada gets the victory. And I just know the way that the show's going, something's going to happen here. Switchblade comes out. Okada just knocks the mic out of his hand. Just says, like, fuck you, bitch. Like, I don't even want to hear you talk. But that's when Gato, no love lost there, attacks Okada from behind. 2-on-1, Blade Runner, and then the rest of the Bullet Club comes out. They stand tall over Okada. They pour beer on the Rainmaker. And they sing themselves happy birthday. Bullet Club looks stronger than ever. Kenta is still out. I don't know what they're going to be doing with Kenta. God got jumped out. But they're standing fucking tall here in Fukuoka. But that wasn't the only big fight feel in the world of wrestling this week, and we had Triple Mania Monterey. Really cool looking baseball stadium show. This show was highlighted by the first round matches in this very unique tournament. All 8 men are legendary masked men, and if you lose in the tournament, that's how you advance. And then if you lose 3 times, you get, which would be, you would, make your way to the finals, if that makes any sense. If you lose, you advance. So if you lose once, you advance to the second round. You lose twice, I think you're in the finals. Or I know you're in the finals. There's only 8 guys. So 3 losses gets you, maskless. And this is a who's who of 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and current lucha legends here. We see all first round matches in this tournament on this show. First match of the tournament and first match of the show, Ultimo Dragon versus Pentagon Jr. I said that correctly. You heard me right. Penta coming out with a cosplaying kid, pulling other cosplaying kids from their families onto the ramp to take pictures. He is over here, but it's Ultimo Dragon who gets the win with an Acai DDT 1, 2, 3. So it's my understanding that Penta advances in the tournament that you don't want to advance in. Ultimo Dragon, he's done it all, including beating Pentagon Jr. in 2022. The next match was for the intergender tag titles. Very unique division here. La Parca de Negra and Ty Conti versus Los Vipers versus Commander and Sexy Star versus Legit Marevilla. Hopefully I'm saying that right. The whole deal of this match here was Sammy was supposed to be hurt from that ladder match. He ended up not being hurt. He came in with the crutch, taking everyone out, and then him and Ty pinned 2 people that were in the match, and apparently now they're the champions. I guess that's how it works. I don't know what happened to La Parca Negra. I don't even know who La Parca Negra is, but he was out there. Sammy and Ty, they're showing up everywhere. Really good heels in AEW. They're good heels in Mexico as well. The second match in this tournament, Villano 4 of Nitro fame versus LA Park of Nitro fame. This was just really cool to see. Both these guys, were in WCW back in the day. Anytime one luchador from WCW back in the day is wrestling in a match on AAA, I'm excited. But this match had 2. This wasn't a very lucha-esque match, though. A lot of brawling in the crowd, both men bleeding. LA Park getting the victory here, so Villano 4 advancing one step closer to revealing his true identity. Speaking of Monday Night Nitro, there was something here between Jeff Jarrett and Vampiro, of all people. I couldn't make heads or tails of it, but if they're going to have a match, sign me up. I'll see it. Hopefully it happens at one of these other Triple Manias. Laredo Kid and Jack Cartwheel versus John Morrison and Black Taurus versus Dragon Lee and Dulistico. Dragon Lee and Dulistico had an amazing match last time I watched AAA. So I was pretty excited to see them. They didn't disappoint. John Morrison using the drip stick in AAA, bringing that over from WWE to Mexico, doesn't disappoint. He ends up accidentally spraying the ref. Big pop. I cracked up laughing. But then he still gets the victory. Third match of this tournament here, Blue Demon Jr. versus El Reyo del Jelisco Jr. I recognize the mask, but I've never seen this man wrestle. Or maybe I have. I just kind of forgot. Another brawling style match. Sin Caras shows up, a man who lost his mask in 1990. Blue Demon loses this, so he advances, but Blue Demon gets caught up in family versus family warfare here. They're all brawling in the ring 30 years after. Blue Demon gets brought off on a stretcher. I'm starting to kind of enjoy these Triple Manias. They used to have 1 a year. Now they have 2 or 3 a year. And I'm a big fan of every single one of them that I've seen. This big spectacle, this Lucha Libre spectacle, is always a fun time to watch. We had another kind of trios match that was just kind of there. Deonna Purrazzo, Andrade, and Super Netico versus Ty Valkyrie, Pagano, and Bandito. I don't know why these teams were these teams. As little as I know about AAA and Lucha Libre, I don't know why these guys were all together. I know Pagano is usually with Psycho Clown, but now he's split up, and I know Bandito, from Ring of Honor, and I didn't know what were these teams, but who cares? Ref ends up giving it to Andrade's team. Or DQing Andrade's team. So Taya, Pagano, and Bandito get the victory. So, but yeah, I don't even know who were heels in this thing. But going on to the final first round match of this crazy ass tournament, Psycho Clown versus Kinect. Kinect started his career in 1973. He was one of 7 men who slammed Andre the Giant. Tope Suicida attempt. Psycho Clown misses and lands his throat on the guardrail. Worst spear through a table in the history of pro wrestling. There is Kinect making history all these years into his career. But then Dr. Ragnar Jr. comes out, takes out Psycho Clown. He's still pissed from Psycho Clown beating him, so he lost his mask like years ago at Triple Mania. I remember watching that. But then Andrade comes out and steals Psycho Clown's mask. I guess we're having Andrade versus Psycho Clown with Dr. Wagner Jr. in Andrade's corner. I'm excited for that. Sign me up. I'm sure that that's going to be a big match, especially in AAA. But the main event here, Phoenix and Vikingo versus the Young Bucks. I think this was Phoenix's first match back, main eventing, coming out in a slingshot. Not a sling, but a slingshot like the car, pulling out in style. Conan, who came out with the Young Bucks, gets sent to the back by the referee really early on. Vikingo, always awesome here. My favorite wrestler in AAA right now. He has the win over Omega, and that kind of was the story of the match here. Gets hit with the Meltzer driver. Young Bucks pin him. They pin the guy who has that victory over their buddy, and they wanted to add insult to injury, so they kept making the ref count, 1, 2, 3, and then again 4, 5, 6, and then again all the way up to like 9 or 12, just to kind of add insult to injury here. After the match, Morrison, Sammy, and Tay Conti come out, and attack Phoenix and Vikingo. Pentagon has seen enough. He comes out, clears the ring, even hits a super kick to Tay Conti. This was a great show. I mean, the New Japan show had better bell-to-bell action, but this was better storylines. This tournament is pretty interesting. Learning more about some of these lucha legends in this tournament was pretty cool. And then the AEW talent sprinkled in just kind of made for, a big show, which is what they were trying to do in this baseball stadium. So this was 2 dome shows, 1 weekend in the world of wrestling. And not to be outdone, well, kind of to be outdone. They did get outdone, but not to be overlooked. Noah had 2 big shows here. So we're just going to go over a few of the matches, a few of the highlights that I found interesting. One being Ninja Mac debuting in Noah. It's been months in the making. We've been seeing him in GCW, and now we finally see him in Noah. He took on Alpha Wolf and Dragon Bane. All 3 of these guys really stole the show, in my opinion. Mac a lot smaller than than these other guys he's wrestling. Alpha Wolf has been in Circus Olay, which I thought was pretty cool. Mason Ryan, eat your heart out. Here's another guy that's done Circus Olay in wrestling, but a lot better wrestler than you are. Hopefully Mason Ryan is listening to this, and we have like some sort of beef online. That would be kind of cool. 2022 Jacob Grondy versus Mason Ryan Twitter beef. I'm just joking. These dives, though, that they were hitting were just incredible. Not just Ninja Mac, but all 3 of these guys. Ninja Mac flipping his way into a deadlift German at one point. But he does get the victory here. So I think they're going to push Ninja Mac here in Noah. He wrestled on the April 29th show, and he also wrestled on the April 30th show, getting victories both times, one in a tag match and one in a triple threat match. But going back to the April 29th show, we had new tag champions on the show in Stinger. Chris Ridgway and Ogawa. Ogawa and Liger getting into it after the match. I hope Liger does not come out of retirement to wrestle Ogawa. Hope he stays retired. That New Year's Dash show where, he gave his big speech and everything, it was beautiful, and I wanted to end there. We also had a New Japan Junior, a new junior champion in Noah, Hayata and Ida. Slow pace to start things off, but Ida busted open here, bleeding everywhere. Hayata goes for a moonsault. Ida gets his knees up at one point, exposing the turnbuckle, but that kind of bit him in the ass. The pace of the match picked up. No man could put the other one away. Hayata finally gets it done. 1, 2, 3. Hayata wins the Noah GHC Junior Championship. That was a solid match, but that three-way was better. Honestly, it was the best match on the show. And then we go on to the next night with Noah. Kojima making an appearance, teaming with Marufuji. Keno and Nakajima not able to defeat the GHC Heavyweight Tag Team Champions in Segura and former NXT manager Hideki Suzuki, which I find interesting. I don't know why they have the titles on these, older guys, these elder statesmen. I think, Keno and Nakajima could be the guys that kind of, they've held it down for Noah for years, but they could definitely just kind of bring it on into the future as well. Kind of showing that Noah is not really ready to take the title off of these veterans that have been holding them and kind of holding the company up or maybe hostage for so long, unless there's a positive COVID test, because Fujita was unable to compete in his title match, so he had to vacate the title. So we had Go Shiozaki versus Keto Kitamiya, and holy hell was this match awesome. This match was, excellent. Strong style as fuck. Both men working snug as fuck. Go Shiozaki turning Kiyomiya's chest red before our eyes with each chop, just clobbering blows. Kiyomiya picks Go up and slams him from the apron to the floor. Gets him back in the ring. German 1-2 kick out. Go hitting his finisher 1-2. Kiyomiya kicks out. Lariat from Go 1-2. No, but connects with another one. 1, 2, 3. Go Shiozaki gets the GHC Heavyweight Championship. But this doesn't mean shit until you have him beat Fujita, in my opinion. I think the debate online between a lot of Noah fans is, when are they going to let these older guys go and then these newer guys, kind of take over. So with this positive COVID test, it kind of is still up in the air, where I feel like this match with before, when Fujita was added, was still there, was going to let us know what happened here. Hopefully Fujita is, resting well at home, kicks COVID, and then comes in and kicks Go Shiozaki. I want to see Shiozaki versus Fujita. These two guys hit hard and will be a very interesting match bell to bell, but it also will let us know what Noah is planning for 2022 and 2023 going into the future. I'm pretty interested in that. That seems to be the storyline within the storyline with Noah. Man, this was a long show. I'm getting tired. It's past my bedtime. I hope you guys enjoy wrestling as much as I enjoy wrestling. I want to see where all these WWE releases go. I want to see what happens with the Hangman Page versus Punk. I want to see what happens with Bullet Club kind of getting that fresh coat of paint in New Japan. What's happening with this new faction that's forming with all the gringos. You got John Morrison, Ty Valkyrie. I guess Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti aren't necessarily gringos, but they're aligning with the gringos. And the Young Bucks versus Pentagon, Vikingo, and Phoenix. I want to see where this tournament ends up, who's going to reveal the mask in AAA. And then in Noah, I want to see what happens when Fujita returns, because he's going to get a title shot back, the title he never lost, versus the guy who a lot of people feel should have been the champion all along. Man, do I love wrestling. Fly high. I'm out.